Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. Welcome to Equality and Rights for All. I'm your host, Anthony Lorito-Duke, and we have a great topic for today's show in which it is NYC Mayor Eric Adams insists NYPD officers live in NYC. So let's get right into this topic. Now, number one, I understand why Mayor Adams is insisting upon this, you know, because uh, if an officer resides in another state, right, once they're done with their tour, when they clock out to go home, and, when they go home to wherever else they reside, you know, if there's an emergency to call them back for something, it's going to take a very long time for them to come back and stuff like that. So it would be, uh, I guess, more convenient if they reside in NYC. But you have to look at the other side of this too, because the other side is just as important. A lot of people are moving out of uh, a lot of states, like New York is one of the states because of the fact that rent and uh, many things are just uh, too high. It's very expensive to live in many states like New York and especially many cities like New York City. So, you know, Mayor Adams, if you ever listen to my shows, in order for you to have this, you got to do things the right way, in which you got to, uh, you know, help make it cheaper to live in New York City because otherwise, they're not gonna move back. And I read somewhere that Mayor Eric Adams stipulated that I think about 30% of the officers, of New York City officers, do not reside in New York City. So, I mean, if you want them to reside in New York City, sir, you have to make things cheaper to live in New York City, and you would have to work with the governor to make things cheaper to live in New York altogether, because otherwise, more and more people are going to move. So, if you truly want the NYPD officers, to reside in NYC, but you're going to have to make it to a way that they can afford to live in New York City, because right now everything is expensive. So let's just be fair here and let's call the spade a spade. Let's put all the cards out on the table and let's get this done the right way. You want NYPD officers to reside in NYC, to live in New York City? Well, you have to make New York City cheaper to live in which they can afford to live in NYC. You know, you got to pay their rent for them. You got to do something to make it livable in New York City. And so far, that is not the case. Everything has skyrocketed, and you got to make things cheaper. So, you want people to come back, or you want people to move into New York, to New York City, you got to make it livable for them. In which you got to, when I say livable, that includes, just but not limited to, making things cheaper. Rent, food, gasoline, everything has to be reduced in prices because otherwise you're not going to get what you want. So, and speaking of this topic, there is no rule that stipulates that NYPD officers have to reside in New York City. But why why do many officers still reside in New York City? Is because of the fact that uh, maybe they don't have any other choice. Maybe they can't afford to move as well. So, and you also have a lot of people that are working two jobs. Let's say if officers are working and once they complete their shift, when they clock out to go home, they may go to a different nighttime job, just to be able to make ends meet. Maybe they have a family to support, so they have to take on another job at night or whatever just to be able to make ends meet. So, sir, Mayor Eric Adams, if you're listening, again, if you truly want all police officers, all New York City police officers, to reside in New York City, then you have to make it to where New York City is actually livable, which again, it includes but not limited to uh, lowering rent or paying their rent for them or mortgage or whatever it is, and make New York City livable. Prices have to go down. Things are too expensive. And that's why many people are moving out of New York City and out of New York State altogether. So um, that's what needs to be done. So if you truly want that, that's what you got to do, sir. Now, um, I want to remind all my fans out there about the business that my husband and I have together called AWLDNY, and the link to there is awldny.com. You guys can check out all the products on there, and all the products that you see on there, we actually make ourselves. And I also want to remind all my fans out there about my other business, my other website that I have called Advocate Information Highway, and the link to there is AIHNY.com. And you guys can check out all the pages on there. And on the home page of the website, you will see the link to my internet store on Zazzle.com, in which I designed a lot of products, and they're up for sale on there. Also, on the home page of my website of Advocate Information Highway, you will see the links to the two books that I wrote. And if you follow those links, you guys can check out both of my books, and you guys can also purchase both of my books as well. And so, with that, take care, everybody. Bye.